So when I got to checkout and saw the final price, I'm like, wait a minute now. Why is this much higher than I was expecting? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So before we start this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. It really helps my channel grow, so please don't forget. Thank you! So from the title, you've probably already guessed what this video is going to be about. I'm just going to be sharing 8 things that I wish that I had known before moving to Canada. Hopefully some of you guys will find it helpful, especially if like you haven't moved here and you're planning on moving here, or you're pretty new. Hopefully you find it helpful. If not, hopefully you find it entertaining or whatever. Hopefully you find that it's worth your time watching this video. If it's not already mentioned in this video, and if you currently live in Canada, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section about anything that you wish you had known before you moved here. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick backstory, just a little bit about my background. So I'm Nigerian, but I moved to the UK when I was about 11 years old, and then I moved to Canada when I was 19 to go to SFU. That's kind of like a complicated backstory. Like, it feels like I've lived in so many places. So the first thing I wish I had known before I moved here was the price you see on the price tag on things like, you know, clothing, pretty much anything that you buy is not the final price. So if you like shopping like I do, whether that's online or in store, this can be a little annoying. In Canada, sales taxes like GST, PST, HST, all types of STs are not included in the upfront costs of an item. So if you're not a math whiz and do like your calculations beforehand, you won't know the final price till you actually get to checkout. Now, the longer you live here, it kind of gets easier to like kind of guesstimate what the final price is gonna be for something. I remember the first time I moved here and I went shopping, so I just like, you know, picked whatever. So when I got to checkout and saw the final price, I'm like, wait a minute now. Why is this much higher than I was expecting? But yeah, it's a little bit inconvenient, but you get used to it. The second thing I wish I had known is that things are super expensive. Now, this may have to do with me living in Vancouver, which happens to be one of the most expensive cities in the whole country. But still, like, everything is just so expensive, from housing, rent, phone bills. Even something as basic as having a bank account costs money. The average cost of living here is ridiculously high. So if you are planning on moving to like Vancouver or Toronto or any of like the major cities, you should probably be prepared for that. Now, this doesn't apply to you if you have like a money growing tree in your suitcase coming here. If you do, then don't worry about this. But if you don't and you're budget conscious, then you need to be prepared for how costly and expensive things are. So speaking of money and finances, I had to talk about credit. Now, this is especially important for my like younger viewers, or if you're coming here as a student. Having good credit, guys, makes life so much easier here. Okay, so before I say anything, I'm not like a financial advisor or anything. This is just, again, based on my experience. If you do decide to get a credit card, I would suggest using it to make like small purchases, so it's kind of like easier to pay back and to pay back on time. Paying back on time is probably the best thing you could do, so it doesn't pile up on you and then, you know, you don't get hit with like crazy ridiculous interest rates. Interest rates are like BITCH to deal with. So doing this and getting in the habit of like paying your bills and then paying them on time, this just helps build your credit history and increase your credit score. So when I was a student, I wasn't really thinking like long term as far as like finances. I was just thinking about like my day-to-day things. So I'm not really thinking about my credit history and stuff like that. Again, my young people, students, don't be like me and just do the exact opposite of what I just said and then have to like work your behind off to get to where you're supposed to be as far as like your credit. Don't do that. So the next thing I wish I'd known before moving here, which is I'm actually somewhat ashamed that I didn't know this. But I didn't know how gorgeous Canada was. Like, Canada is probably one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever been in. For some reason, I was kind of like surprised when I moved here, because it's not like I thought like Canada was ugly or anything. It's just I thought like it would just be like this huge land mass with just ice and snow all over it. For some reason, that's like the image I had of Canada in my head. And just the scenery here is absolutely amazing. On the topic of like geography and stuff, another thing I wish I'd known was Canada actually isn't always cold. Most places in Canada where people can actually live have 4 distinct seasons. Canada is huge, so the weather on the East Coast and the West Coast can be dramatically different. Now, I live in the West Coast, thank God, so the weather is typically like super mild compared to everywhere else, so it's like not too hot and not too cold. But lately we've been getting extremes, and thanks to climate change is real, guys, and it's a real serious issue, and it's probably going to get worse if we don't quit messing around. The next thing that I wish I had known before I moved here was that getting a good job might take a little longer than you expect. Now, in my case, when I moved here, it wasn't that hard for me to get like, just, those basic student jobs that, that you just do like part-time, like retail and stuff like that. I worked in so many places when I moved here, like I can't even count. But the type of jobs that I'm talking about are like the skilled jobs that I required after I had graduated to get my permanent residency. As far as jobs go, as like an immigrant, sometimes it's a tough market, and it also seems like there's more people than jobs, so it's extremely competitive. So if you are coming here, just try to just adjust your expectations and not get too discouraged if it takes a little bit of time for you to get the skilled work that you're looking for. The next one is an important one: healthcare. Ooh, you guys. Before I say anything that's like too critical, I will say this. I am very grateful for the universal healthcare system that we have. It is a much better system than, or whatever system that they have in the US, or lack of a system, whatever it is. They are going through it. Like, if you're living in the US, I don't know how you're doing it. Kudos to you. You guys are going through it. I knew about the universal healthcare system that they had in Canada prior to moving here, because they have a similar setup in the UK. However, when you hear a universal healthcare system, please do not assume that everything is free. That's not what it means. Certain items and services cost money, and they cost quite a bit of money. And when I say a bit of money, I mean a lot. A lot of things that you actually have to pay for, like prescription glasses, dental work. You even have to pay for ambulance services as well, which I think is absolutely crazy. To cover these costs, you can either just like pay out of your pocket or purchase like private health insurance, or it could also be included in your benefits package that you get from your employer if where you work is enrolled in some type of benefits program. Please keep in mind that each province or territory has their own healthcare plan or health insurance plan. Another drawback of the system that we have here in Canada is that it could take years for you to get to see a specialist. Plus, like, you can't just like go straight to see a specialist. Like, you have to go to either your family doctor or like a walk-in clinic and get a referral. You can't just like go straight to, let's say, like an endocrinologist or something. Like, you can't just go straight to them. You'd have to get a referral, and just doing that can add a lot more time to the process as well. So the last thing that I want to talk about is kind of a touchy one. It's a sensitive one, and that's about race. Canada as a country prides itself on being extremely culturally inclusive. So it's culturally diverse, and it welcomes immigrants from all parts of the world, and this, in my opinion, is a wonderful, wonderful thing. However, I think because of this reputation that Canada has regarding, cultural diversity, I think sometimes it leads people to think that things like racism and discrimination and underrepresentation aren't really a thing here. And in my opinion, that's not the case. You would expect a country like Canada to be super open, super welcoming, tolerant, accepting of like different cultures, and most of the time it is. In my experience as a Black person, sometimes it doesn't feel that way. I can only speak for myself and my experience here, and in the years that I have been living here, I have experienced overt and covert racism. It's mostly covert though, but honestly, to me, it's just as bad as super in your face, open racism. To me, you know, undercover racism, out loud racism, they're both bad in my opinion. And if you're not prepared for this, because honestly, I wasn't. It can have a negative effect and it can have a toll on you as a person of color or as a Black person. There isn't a huge presence of Black people in Vancouver, BC. The last time I checked, Black people make up about 1.2% of the population in Vancouver. As opposed to a city like Toronto where the population of Black people is like 8.9%, I think that's correct. So this isn't to say that there aren't any Black people in Vancouver, that's what I'm saying. There are Black people in Vancouver, but they're not as many. So coming here was kind of like, it was a little bit of a shock to the system. Like, okay, growing up in Nigeria and then growing up in London, like, I was surrounded by Black people like all the time. Like, I mean, you could just look out of your house and see a Black person. So coming here and then the underrepresentation, I guess, or the lack of representation was just jarring. I don't know, maybe it's just me because I don't think a lot of people have this issue. Or maybe they do, I don't know. But I have to be really honest with you guys. But when you come to a place and not a lot of people look like you, it's kind of hard for you to, well, at least for me, to not feel like some kind of outsider. Like, I just, you know, it's like, it's a strange feeling. It was for me, and it took a lot of like getting used to, because like this was almost always the case for me. Like when I moved here at first, I would go to classes, I would go to work, and I was like the only Black person in the room. Like I couldn't even blend in, like if I wanted to, because it's almost like it's difficult to explain without sounding crazy. And I hope somebody who's watching this can kind of like understand where I'm coming from. But in general, people from Vancouver are super easygoing, they're cordial, they're respectful, and you will find your footing here if you're new. You will find people that you'd love to hang out with, you'd make friends, you will. It's just, I thought it was worth mentioning because it's something that I went through, and it was kind of like, again, like I said, it was like kind of a shock to me, and it wasn't something that I was expecting. So that's it, guys. I have to mention this before I leave though. I love living here. It's been such a blessing. You know, since the day that I stepped foot in this country, I will not take anything back. I don't regret anything. Like, I have learned so much, and I feel like I've accomplished so much being here. And I'm super grateful that I have the opportunity to actually live in Canada. If you have anything else to add to this video, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. I love reading comments, I really do. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!